Call the meeting of Monday, February 24th, 2020, City of Waterville Council meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mrs. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mayor Pedro?
Here.
Mr. Rosick?
Here.
Mr. Roski?
Here.
Mrs. Dunn?
Here.
And I'd ask Councilman Rod Fry to lead us in the prayer, please.
Loving God, as we come together for the city of Waterville, we pause to ask you to be with us and guide our way. May your spirit of peace surround all we say and do this evening. We ask for your strength to do what is best for the good of Waterville. Lord God, as your servants of your people, we pray that you grant us a share of your wisdom. Amen.
Amen.
And if you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked one of our guests, Tim Burns, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, now that I was out of order, roll call, I apologize. That's the only mistake I'm going to make today. So we are all here, right? Thank you. You've all had a chance to review the approval, or rather the minutes. Are there a motion to accept?
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, haven't heard none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Citizens' comments. We have a couple, and I would ask John Nimick to go to the podium, please. And I'm not sure if, Mary Ann, you're going to follow him? Okay. Just state your name and the purpose of your visit today, please.
Yes, sir. My name is John Nemsick from the Buckeye Trail Association, and I'm here to introduce myself, and avail myself to you. If you have any questions about the Buckeye Trail, I guess I'm your man because I'm the new section supervisor for that portion of the Buckeye Trail that comes through Waterville. My section starts Defiance, goes all the way here to Waterville. The Buckeye Trail, for those of you who are not familiar, goes all the way around the state of Ohio. It's 1,400 miles long, and we share about 800 miles of it with the North Country Trail. And I think that's why she would like to address this august group. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members.
Okay. Next, Mary Ann.
I am standing up. My name is Mary Ann Britt Duvendak. I am one of the co-founders of the Northwestern Ohio Rails to Trails Association, NORTA. We're the folks who made the Wabash Cannonball Trail happen. I have been at it 29 years. I know that because my son just turned 29, and he was a baby in my arms when we went to our first meetings. One of the things we had planned all those many, many years ago was connectivity with other trails. Connectivity, 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 partnering, and on and on. That day is here, pleased to announce. The good section of the Wabash Cannonball Trail in Fulton County is already certified as part of the North Country Trail. The North Country Trail is the longest national scenic trail in the United States, coming in at about 4,400 miles. I have propaganda. I was also a fourth grade teacher and a camp director, so just follow along, children. I got it.
Thank
Is it
you.
good enough? People, open your maps to the center, please, class. The North Country Trail starts now in the state of Vermont. It ends at Lake Sacagawea in North Dakota. I've actually been at both ends of it, never walked much in the middle, but it's a phenomenal asset to the United States. These national scenic trails are administered by the National Park Service, which means the feds are involved. Having worked for the feds for a long time, paperwork. But we also have, and more importantly, we also have the North Country Trail Association. that's the folks, the friends group, if you will, for the North Country Trail. The North Country Trail staff consists of about 2.5 people. Most of the work comes through us who are volunteers with the North Country Trail Association, the NTCA. We are the ones who are working to get better trail connectivity here in northwestern Ohio as well as throughout the rest of the country. In northwest Ohio, as I mentioned, the North Fork of the Wabash Cannonball Trail, from about West Unity in Williams County to Oak Openings Metro Park, that small little park. Oh, wait a minute, I live there. That small little park in Swanton Township comes through on the Scout Trail, most of the Scout Trail. And then the question was, where do we go from there? How do we get to the next best trail? The way we get through the next best trail is through the Maumee State Forest, down to the Wabash Cannonball Trail South Fork, take the South Fork to Finzel to the roundabout to the village of Waterville, city of Waterville, excuse me, and Waterville to the Buckeye Trail. As John mentioned, the Buckeye Trail has about 800 miles of the 1,400 miles are certified as North Country Trail. Our hope is to get people who are section hiking the trail, or for those nutcases that are people who are walking through hiking the entire trail. And to our knowledge, there's about 8 or 9 people who have started at one end, walked all the way to the other end. You hear about people doing this on the that little tiny short Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, Continental Divide Trail, American Discovery Trail. Now the North Country Trail, the longest, the grandest, the most wonderful of all these trails, is coming right through beautiful downtown Waterville. So here's the plan, because I have more handouts.
Visual aids are very good.
And I noticed I didn't pass them all out at the beginning because there's always somebody who goes to the last page first, John, and to the back side first, so. Oh, that's pretty close. There we go.
Thank you.
You betcha. At the present time, the North Country Trail leaves, let's say we're going from North Dakota to Maine, west to east. You come on the Wabash Cannonball Trail North Fork to the Scout Trail at Oak Openings, down the Scout Trail to Old Wilkins Road. At Old Wilkins Road, you pick up through the Maumee State Forest, a very, very recently marked section through there to Barrage Road. You walk half a mile or so down Barrage Road. It's called a road walk, and in all of these national trails and the Buckeye Trail have many, many stretches of road walk. The goal is to get off as many roads as possible. So now you would come down to Barrage Road. The current route for the North Country Trail goes southwest to Liberty Center, down 109 past the truck stop and on to 24, and at 24 you pick up the Buckeye Trail and head back west. If you've tried walking down 109 past the truck stop over 24, it's not that great. And it's not all that scenic. So a better way to do that, and with only a little bit of trickiness, is to come down Barrage Road, get the South Fork of the Wabash Cannonball Trail, back through White House, back up to the school campus, down Finzel Road to the outside of the roundabout, so we don't have to actually cross the roundabout, to the car dealerships, and then we run out of paved trail. This doesn't scare those of us with the long distance trails. We know we're going to have road walks. That section of road walk from the car dealerships to the overpass is just barely a mile and a half. And half of that is actually from the overpass over to Starbucks, is what people are looking for, over to the pathway on the other side of Kroger's. That is on TMACOG's list of things to do in the future. It's like 340 out of 500 projects or something. But we're going to work to move that up the list. So we get this connection between our two communities, between White House and Waterville, paved. We're literally this far from being done, from connecting the kids here in Waterville on their bikes to the high school, your kids in the high school to the park. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing program. Once you're in Waterville and once you're at the Kroger's, you come on the paved path to Waterville Street, right down Waterville to Farnsworth Metro Park, where you pick up the towpath / Ohio Buckeye Trail. At that point, we would head, for the North Country Trail, we would head people back towards Grand Rapids. One of the things that hikers on these long distance trails are looking for is scenic routes, and it doesn't get much better than hiking the towpath from here to Grand Rapids. It just doesn't get much better. And I was with 400 people last weekend who went from Grand Rapids to, it was cold that morning, from Grand Rapids to Benview. It was cold Saturday morning. But it's highly desirable. There are so many good reasons to do this. One little mile of not great reason, but that's it, and we're so close to making that happen. So here's what we need from y'all to do. Eventually there's paperwork, blah, blah, blah. Most of that is handled by the Buckeye Trail folks. They're already certified partners, and it's literally about a 4-page document. The exciting part comes in with the National Trail Association when we sponsor something called Trail Towns. The Buckeye Trail does this, the North Country Trail Association does this. That's when we as a community tell people that we're part of the North Country Trail. We're part of the Buckeye Trail, and you should come to our community because we have a Starbucks, we have a Big B's, we have Mexican restaurants, we have Sean's, we have all those good things. We have a place where you can get repair kits. We have a hardware store you can go to. You can get, you can shop at Rite Aid and get, refill meds. You can call ahead. If you're through hiking, getting medicine is a big deal. Knowing you can go to a Rite Aid right on the corner, by golly gee, there it is. Down at Waterville, or down at Farnsworth, there's some new camping facilities. I don't know if the 2 Adirondacks right there are now reservable. There's a group camp. We'd love to see more here in Waterville. That'd be excellent. Excuse me. But it's an easy walk from the campsites at Oak Openings to the campsites at Farnsworth. It's a really awesome thing. So in the next few months, we will be coming to you and saying, okay, let's talk to the Chamber of Commerce. Let's be a trail town. We have stickers. We, the North Country Trail Association, the Buckeye Trail Association, provide the signage, provide the stickers, provide the PR, the propaganda, the speakers to come and tell people what an amazing, wonderful thing we have right here in our own hometowns. We're going to make this happen. We're excited about it. It's a long-term dream to have the Buckeye Trail connect to the Wabash Cannonball Trail, connect to the North Country Trail, connect to eventually when the people in my hometown of Perrysburg get together and we connect to the North Coast Inland Trail, part of that emerald necklace circling the Great Lakes. One of the other things we found out with the North Country Trail Association is that we have volunteer work days. And apparently, your work uniform is a black and red buffalo plaid shirt. And somebody got the great idea that we should just refer to ourselves as the Red Plaid Nation. So it's my honor to welcome the city of Waterville to the Red Plaid Nation, and it'll be a great partnership for years and years to come. Yay. Questions? I dance too.
Quick question, are you part of, in conjunction with the Rails to Trails?
The NORTA is the Northwestern Ohio Rails to Trails Association, and I'm one of the co-founders of that organization, so yeah. Yeah.
Is the trail marked all the way?
The Buckeye Trail is, and that's John's deal. The expression, where in the blue blazes am I, comes from marking these long distance trails with blue rectangles, 6 inches by 2 inches. There's a whole system for blazing these trails. The North Country Trail also uses a traditional triangle trail. You'll see it on the front here. That's all the long distance trails that the National Park Service administers has these triangle trails. Ours, of course, is a North Country Scenic Trail. And National Park Service and the association provide the signage. You're welcome to do it. We're not going to turn you down. But we do provide the signage, the volunteers to come out and blaze it, the folks to run, you know, we have a thing called trail angeling, where somebody's hiking from, you know, the Adirondacks to the Porcupine Mountains in Michigan, and they need somebody to run them to the grocery store. They go, nowadays, they go to the Facebook, they put out a call. Folks like myself say, hey, I'll pick you up on Tuesday, I can drop you off, where do you need to go? We do car shuttling. We call it Trail Angels and Trail Magic, and it's a real thing that's out there, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope to see y'all on the trail, on the Buckeye Trail, on the Wabash Cannonball Trail, my baby.
Just one more, if you don't
Uh-huh,
mind. I
sure.
wonder how it is that Ohio has so many more miles of trail than any of the other states?
Because of the Buckeye Trail. We partner with the Buckeye. The Buckeye Trail's been here since Grandma Gatewood hiked it 100,000 years ago. 1959, one of the longest serving long-distance trails in the United States. And it's, a lot of people think, I've hiked the Appalachian Trail, but the real crown jewel is hiking the Ohio Buckeye Trail, because that's really, in a lot of ways, where the long-distance hiking program started.
Any other questions? The only thing I would say is just this morning, I was at a meeting with the Jobs Ohio, City of Ohio Economic Development Group, RGP, and one of the last speakers was the director of the Metro Parks, and he talked very much
Zang.
about how the outdoors and parks and it's a way of life for companies that decide to move to different regions, and so how timely. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing you stop back again, and if you don't know, we can put you in touch with the Chamber of Commerce to get a little advance
Will do.
conversation going.
We'll do that.
So thank you.
All right. You betcha. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up, we have a couple guests, Tim Burns and Brian Wilson, and Brian Wilson is not from the Beach Boys. I've already asked him that. But basically, I'll just make a couple comments and ask Tim and Brian to talk about their business that they're planning to move to the city of Waterville. Brian has a connection to Waterville. Tim, go ahead.
So what we're hopeful to do is, this is the initial process to open a new brewery in Waterville, and the combination of opening something that we're pretty excited about, but also repurposing a building that has kind of been sitting still for a few years, and that's the old car wash that sits down just the south side of town. So we're kind of hoping to do a couple things. One is create an exciting business that, like I said, we're pretty excited about, but also bring a connecting area of that side of town and hopefully kind of merge the south side, I think that's what we'll call ourselves, the south side, to the main uptown portion of town. This is Brian Wilson.
Yep, my name's Brian Wilson. I've been living in Waterville probably for about 10, 12 years, but I just recently moved out to White House, and I'm still close because I still like this area, and frankly, I have my two kids in Anthony schools, and I love it, so I won't move them from there. But yeah, we're very excited about bringing something new to Waterville, another restaurant, someplace where people can go and spend their time. We want to do some different things for the city, charity things, a lot of that stuff. Just like a lot of other groups, they really give back to the community in some way. So we're hoping we can do that here in Waterville as well.
Maybe just for the record, if you would state your name and your address so our team could recognize. So go ahead.
The address for personal? Yeah. Brian Wilson at 10263 Blue Ridge Drive South, and that's in the White House, Ohio, 4357.
And Timothy Burns, 402 East Indiana, Maumee, Ohio, 43537.
Council, any comments or questions? Anthony?
I heard you say restaurant, so it's gonna be a restaurant brewery?
We will, our intention is initially to open indirectly with Food Connection, which is to bring some food trucks out. That's kind of a hot item right now, especially at breweries. It's a pretty hot item, but the biggest thing from talking to other brewers that are in the business is getting consistency and being able to get a food truck there every night. So what our intention is to get really good at brewing. That's our focus, is to get good at what we're opening this business for, which is to brew some, hopefully, the best beers around, get good at distributing it, and marketing. And the food is kind of almost a necessity to it. We think that in about 6 months, maybe the beginning of 2021 is when we would probably open a kitchen within our own facility. And the food that we're talking about having is probably not what I would think of like a mega restaurant, as much as it would be kind of built around healthier stuff, paninis, flatbreads maybe, stuff that's maybe a little bit more like finger food style than necessarily like a sit-down meal. So.
Are there permits available? You already looked at
Brewery permits are different than liquor licenses, so yes.
Yeah, so our liquor, or our brewer license would allow us to produce up to 190,000 barrels in a year. If we get to that size, we'll be asking for a bigger building. That's quite large. The license also allows us to do beer sales within the facility itself of where the license is issued, as well as distribute out to any other like entity or bar or like a distributing company. So, the name of our place is Buffalo Rock, and I think probably most everybody would be familiar around here, but we picked that name from Roche de Boeuf. And we're really trying to, everything that we do is find a way to connect to the community. Going and speaking on the bike path and the trail, that was one of the first things that we noticed about this facility, is the path that goes out in front of the street and that connection to town, because it really does make a difference. We're hoping that, our parking lot, and we have enough spots that will provide the patrons enough to survive our business, but we would really like to be in a situation where the community can ride their bicycles down, can walk from town, maybe on their way to and from Farnsworth, which is also a huge asset to this community, as you all know. I endorse trails.
Council, any other comments? All right, well, thank you very much, and you're welcome to stay, but you can certainly leave it.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, next up, we have some staff reports, and we'll start with our administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Council has a copy of my report. A couple of things I wanted to add. Enclosed at the end of my report is the annual reminder for the mayor and council about your deadline for filing the annual financial disclosure statement with the state of Ohio, and it's due on May 15th, 2020. And I also wanted to mention that the city responded to 2 mutual aid fires on Friday and into Saturday morning. We had one in Swanton at the Scott Dell Carpet facility, and at that fire, engine 78, which is our oldest engine, had some electrical problems, and we had to have it towed back to the city. So it's was towed back to the fire station, and that's going in for repair work on Wednesday. The second fire was at Johns Manville Plant number 1, which is on River Road, and that's in Monclova Township. So we responded, mutual aid response there, and that was about a 4-hour fire from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. So if you notice the fire truck getting towed back to the city over the weekend, that was engine 78, and we're hoping that nothing major, just electrical issue, and we'll get it back in service very soon.
Any other questions or comments from council, from the administrator? Okay, moving on to our law director
No report tonight, Your Honor.
and our finance director.
I'm going to start with the January 2020 finance report. On page 1 is the fund balance of $6,875,897. That's a ballpark of $130,000 greater than December 31st. Okay. So, and then I'm gonna we had no additional investments in January. So on page 5 is your fund balance report where it compares year to year. And we are up in January 987,000 from January of 2018, 19. Okay. The income tax report, I'm gonna send you, we already covered January's income tax report, one of the prior meetings. And I'm gonna send you to page 18, for the reader report. And in that particular February month, we had, received somewhat less than we did in the prior year. But we're still ahead for the year at 37,000. That's page 18. So for this year, we're 37,000 above prior year for the first 2 months.
Okay, questions or comments from council, starting with, Councilman Bruno.
Questions?
Barbara?
Not this evening, thank you.
Brett? John?
No, looks good, Mark, thanks.
Todd?
Keep it coming. No questions here?
And then I'm gonna briefly cover the fourth quarter of December of 2019, fourth quarter budget report. Okay, and if you open to the memo, and it does not have a page. And you go to about a third of the way down, it starts in with the general fund, okay? And that had an ending balance of $2,079,000, ballpark of 423,000 greater than fiscal year 18, okay? And 111,000 in carryover purchase orders. And that carryover purchase orders is at the very back of this report. Okay, so it's the detail of it. So we're really well in line with, we kind of have an effort to make sure the general fund balance for our note rollovers is somewhere higher than the $639 to $958,000 benchmark, and we're well ahead of that. Several of the accounts were pretty much accurate as far as the budgeting. The property taxes, municipal income taxes, zoning permits, charges for services, EMS, they all ended about what we budgeted at. Okay. Local government revenue from the county and the state, we're up, and we expected that from the state, I think, because it was relatively new. But the county is also doing better still. Let's see, another highlight, miscellaneous revenue ended at 85% of the budget, and that includes the farmland that we rent. Miscellaneous revenue, we exceeded budget significantly, and a lot of that was due to a BWC refund and the Nexus gas transmission refund as well. The reader retainer fund was at budget. Refuse and was 3.9% over budget, and the general fund 1.67% greater than what we budgeted. So pretty closely budgeted. The general fund expenses were 82% of the budget. 802,000 was unspent at the end of the year. For the dedicated funds, we exceeded the budget on the revenue side, and on the expenditure side, we just spent less. So thus increasing our fund balances in that area. And the 5-year capital fund, we didn't receive in 19 a ballpark of 390,000, and some of that was due to State Route 64 where we didn't complete this coming up to the Anthony Wayne Trail. And 292 of that 390 is expected to be spent in 2020. And then the enterprise funds were very tightly budgeted. 93% of the budget, the expenditures were 93% of the budget. The revenues were almost right on. So overall, in revenues, we collected 10,970, 848 for the year, and expenses were 10,023, 017 for the year. Any questions?
One quick one, the Nexus gas refund, how much was that? Do we have-
That was about
15,000?
The BWC was 19,000, so that accounted for about 34,000 additional revenues in that particular.
Was that a refund from Nexus, or was that was a grant, wasn't it?
grant.
Grant?
Yeah, grant. But unexpected, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Questions? We'll start with Mrs. Duncan.
Looks good.
Todd?
I'm all good.
Okay, thank you.
No, good work on the budgeting, Mark.
I think most of that was John.
Well, good work on the budgeting, John. Not taking anything away from you, John. You know.
I'll take that.
There you go.
That's the old school, right? Budget expenses high and income low.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I like it.
Kind of like a weatherman. All right, moving on to our treasurer.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Before I start on my report, I am one of the wackos that has an interest in doing the Appalachian Trail someday. So if you have an extra map, I'm going to steal one from you before we get out of here tonight. We do have the December and the January accounts all reconciled, so you have a copy of that on both sides of the page here. The December one I like more from the standpoint of it really summarizes what Mark just talked about. So if you look at the very bottom of my report for December, you see, you can really see the end of last year versus the end of the prior year. And you can see, so for example, the first two columns are all funds, and we were at about 5.8 last year in 18, and we're about 6.7 in 19. General fund about $1.6 million up to a little over $2 million. Capital fund $1.6 million up to about $1.7 million, and the water and sewer funds combined were about $2 million up to 2.25. So great trends here, obviously with all of them. Every one of them is up over where we were last year. So, and as Mark mentioned, our general fund is a little over $2 million right now, which we like it around. Well, we want to keep at least $900,000 for bond and stuff. So we're in great shape from that perspective. So I don't see any major concerns with anything as of the end of last year. And then in January, if you just flip it over, again, too early to notice any trends, but we did have a great income tax month for March, and all our funds are holding very, very strong for January. So that's the end of my report.
Questions, comments?
Thank you very much.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Next, we have communications from council members. We'll start with Mrs. Duncan.
No report this evening, Your Honor.
Todd?
I have a few things.
Only one, Todd.
Only one? Okay, let me flip a coin here. I did meet with Millie Hopes in regards to the dog park. We did look at a couple sites, and I'm gonna go to the parks meeting with, see you guys over there and talk about the locations. I talked to Mary, we looked at Stitt Park, Bear Park,
Waterworks Park, and then the land by the fire department over there. And Millie sent me a great email, gave me a form that kind of goes through our budget, their process that I'll pass on to Parks Department. And her two recommendations was either the land next to the fire department or Waterworks Park. So, and I was at Waterworks Park this morning with the dogs, trying to figure out how it would work. They have the infrastructure there, we have the parking there, the fencing, we could take a lot of that fencing up to meet the requirements of 6 feet. I think we could make that work, so I'll probably, we could talk about draining that a little bit better, that field, and trying to see how that's gonna work. But again, I'll go with the Parks Department on that, and I do have some literature that she left, so. Secondly, I went to the Tree Commission, and they asked me to read a letter. This is from Jill Schur. On October 14th, 2019, Jill Schur and Laura Nielsen of the Waterville Tree Commission completed an inventory of the street trees along Prairie Boulevard. These were assisted by Rick Meering. Following are their findings. At least 75% of the trees purchased and planted by the developer are either dead or severely distressed due to the use of poor quality tree stock or improper planting practices. Many of the trees chosen are not in keeping with the Tree Commission's recommendation or guidelines for that area. The number and placement of the trees chosen are also not in keeping with the Tree Commission's recommendations. Some of the trees will need to be removed immediately, and others can be left in place temporarily. Many of the trees left in place will probably either die prematurely or not grow to provide a full range of benefits that a well-chosen and properly planted young tree would be capable of providing at maturity. Leaving a poor quality large species tree in place could potentially lead to expensive removal and care in the future. Because the problems with these trees are many and far-reaching, it is our recommendation that the developer be asked to place the entire originally agreed upon amount in escrow so that this area of high usage can be properly replanted and adjusted according to the original plan. The new trees should not be planted until the construction along the roadway has been completed. Several of the existing trees were either damaged or uprooted by construction vehicles. So, there's a lot of issues going on over there on Prairie Boulevard, and what they're looking to do is take the rest of the money and put it into escrow. And, my concern is, okay, so we have our guys plant the trees, do we have the manpower to do it ourselves, to take on that? So it's just something that we really need to vet out.
Well, I don't, unless, John, you make some comments, but I would ask John to come back the next meeting with maybe more, unless you can comment on that.
Well, one of the things that, we do in subdivisions, we have a North Branch Nursery there in Pemberville. They do most of our planning, so, they do a good job. And with Prairie Boulevard, we would require new trees to be planted as the street develops anyway. And they'd have to, pay a tree fee like we do with the subdivisions. So I think that's probably the way to go, and then we have our tree contractor put them in. And better chance for survival, and we've had a lot of success with North Branch Nursery. They do a lot of our tree work, but I think that's probably the plan is, as a site plan comes in, they have to pay a tree fee, which we assess every new residential property in the city, and we can do the same thing with Prairie Boulevard.
Okay.
So next steps with this, I mean, should I take that to the Tree Commission or meet up with you, John? And is there a call that needs to go out to the developer?
Well, I was gonna say, I'll ask John to research it and maybe next meeting come back with some recommendations, but
Okay.
thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. John?
Thanks, Mayor. Excuse me, Rod and John and I attended it was a public meeting for the 911 consolidation with the Council of Governments. I can say a few things, Rod, and then certainly John add or subtract, I guess, to whatever. Anyway, this was at Springfield Township, called by the Springfield Township trustees. And there is a proposed agreement for the Council of Governments that I think the county had prepared and circulated, and some of the jurisdictions have already, I think, agreed to or adopted that agreement. But Springfield has raised some issues primarily with regard to the structure of the Council of Governments. I don't think Springfield is opposed to the Council of Government or the consolidation of the 911 operation, but they aren't crazy about the way the structure has been developed. And briefly, I guess, the proposal from the county, I'm going to call it from the county, although I think other people were involved in developing it, has a organizational chart that includes a board of directors with 7 members, and that's really the primary governing body, and then 3 technical advisory committees, which consist of all the police chiefs of all, there's 21 jurisdictions, so 21 police chiefs, 21 fire chiefs, and then 21 one elected official or representative from each jurisdiction. That's basically the structure of what the county has proposed. So the board of directors would consist of the county sheriff, the police and fire chief from Toledo, the police and fire chief from the next most popular, which I think is Sylvania Township, right? Mm-hmm. And then 2 officers or 2 representatives from the suburban municipalities and 1 from the suburban townships. What's different from Springfield is that they would sort of flip-flop the structure, and they would have 21 members on the governing body. That would be 1 designated member from each of the 21 entities. And then below that would be a board of managers consisting of about 7 or 8 officials from each of the, from various of the jurisdictions. Toledo, Sylvania Township, 3 municipal administrators, and then 1 each from other townships. So I guess the gist of it is that Springfield is developing, Springfield Township, along with, I think, Maumee and a couple other jurisdictions, is developing an alternative agreement that they'd like to circulate for all the jurisdictions to consider for approval. And the county's agreement also is out for approval, I think, at all the jurisdictions. So that's, there was some consternation expressed, correct me if I'm wrong, John and Rod, with regard to the way the whole organization was developed initially, what the participation was among the various jurisdictions. And that probably, partly at least, is driving this approach to try to get a different agreement in place.
Rod, want to comment?
No, I think John covered it, covered most of what was discussed. I mean, really I think what Springfield's driving at is the way the county came in with this, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but they came in with this giving the chiefs really the police chiefs and the fire chiefs to be the top board of trustees, let's say, that are really governing this entity, where Springfield wants to have all the members, all the 21 members, be that top level of board of trustees. I think that's the major change here is that's what they're trying to change. So now, from what I took from the meeting, there are some members that have already approved this, and I think based on some of the comments that were made from the county personnel there, I'm not sure how open they're going to be to changing the agreement that's already been put in place, which at some point we're going to be asked to approve. So, and I've not really seen both of these final agreements. I don't know if any other council members have. John, have we been provided with that?
No. I mean, I mentioned it at a couple meetings, and
Yeah.
I guess at this point, it's probably better just to kind of let everything shake out a little more and see what happens. And because I think, I always thought that the county would modify their agreement based on comments that they've received, and so that's kind of why we haven't seen a final draft yet. I think they're still working on it, and then if they want to modify it further with the Springfield Township proposal, then it'll just keep changing, and so I don't think there's any real big hurry to approve either agreement, and kind of just see what shakes out, I guess, in terms of how each group wants to modify their proposals.
I think that's right.
I guess, so Springfield Township essentially is just disagreeing with the structure of the board.
Yes.
It's
They
not just,
agree with
Not
they
the-
agree with the consolidation,
not
they
the
don't agree with who's
concept.
gonna run it.
Yeah.
Just the structure of the
Right.
board. And how is Lucas County responding to that?
Saying it's already approved in some areas, but we'll look at your proposal, basically.
sort of.
So they need to come together and work a
Correct.
compromise.
And it's not just Springfield, by the way, that's,
It's Springfield and
Springfield,
Olean.
and according to, one of the trustees at Springfield Township, there's about 7 townships that are considering an alternative proposal,
They want
and 2 municipalities.
So challenging
the
the
structure.
county a little bit, which,
Who's gonna run it? That's,
working it out. All right, so, John, you're just saying, things have to shake out before we
Yeah, I
get-
think so, and if there's gonna be some compromise, they're both gonna have to compromise and see what happens, I guess. So.
And is there a time frame? I mean, so the current system we have, it's not like it's gonna expire, right?
I think they were looking at, maybe another year to finalize everything.
Yeah.
So, not that we wanna wait a long period of time, but I would think in the next month or two, we'll get something more concrete to look at.
Anthony?
I think most of my questions were answered. I mean, the structure so what exactly is Springfield proposing the structure should be like? What is
They
the
would
issue
have
with-
a 21-member board of directors or board of governors, 1 representative from each of the 21 jurisdictions. And then below that, they would have a group of, I think, fire chiefs and police chiefs that would make recommendations to the 21-member board, but the ultimate decision-making in terms of budget and operation and, would be made by the board of directors, board of managers, I don't know if they even have a name for it yet,
Right.
but, and so the difference is with the county arrangement, the recommendation is made by a 21-member technical advisory committee consisting of a representative from each jurisdiction, which goes up to a 7-member board of directors. So it's kind of the reverse.
Gotcha.
My own,
Do they feel like it's a little stacked on the county side?
That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Yes.
Saying, okay, we're a little
The
heavy
town-
on county representation, and what
that's what it
about?
sounds like to me.
The townships feel like they're out of the loop.
Underrepresented.
Right.
Gotcha.
so, simultaneously, while this is all going on, I had a meeting planned with the county. So John and I met that afternoon and, pretty much did not hear about the Springfield Township idea. So John and I agreed that the meeting was gonna take place that night, which Rod and John went. And now we're here today, and I think the best advice is just to hang tight. I'm sure there'll be more information, and like John, our administrator said, we'll decide this, but we'll do it properly, and we'll take the time to get it right. So I think tonight's conversation was just to bring everybody up to date, so I thank those that participated. Mr. Rod Fry, any comments from you? I'm good.
Couple things. Okay, we are having another issue. It's spring again, and I know we had this problem last year with the Lucas County recycling bins up at Kroger. The field is full of trash again. And I know last year, Rebel Chiropractor coordinated an effort to make a community cleanup, and that was awesome. Here we are again, right? So, going forward, until that property is developed, it's just gonna be an eyesore for us, because, this stuff happens within the community, but the stuff gets blown around in people's yards and it's not as obvious, right? But they're gonna have to do something, it's just, if you've ever watched, when you watch these dumpsters get dumped into the truck, they shake them down, and if it's windy, stuff just blows, right? And it just has a cumulative effect, and that's what we're seeing now, right? So it is an eyesore. So
Is it mostly paper or is it the
a
plastics?
lot of the plastic,
Okay.
yeah, you'll notice it now that, we're talking about it. But, so maybe Rebel will do another community cleanup. This, reporter. Put a little, put something in there for us. Them or somebody, maybe Parks and Rec will talk about it too.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
that's a good
coordinate
idea.
a cleanup day, but I do think we have to take care of that soon because it is quite an eyesore. So, second thing is, are we gonna have the recycling group come in and do a presentation for us from Lucas County?
Yes, yeah, they indicated they would do that, it's more scheduling the time, and so we'll try to get them here very quickly. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and then we could probably just address this issue with them
Right.
directly too, at that point. So our curbside recycling, the actual stream, how that works, and then, handling this problem going forward. And then last thing, the firearms training, can we still sign up for that? I know that's coming up in March for the police department, right?
Right. I don't know if he has an exact date, but it's the last block he would have for, citizens and, elected officials, and so, I believe that was, it's 3 days, the third day would be reserved for, elected officials, interested citizens, that type of thing.
And how do we find
But
out?
I'll get with the police chief tomorrow and ask him if he has a final day on that schedule.
Okay, all right, that is all for me, thank you.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes, this might be more for Kenny, but John, you might know. There's a street pole or a street light down in Bridgehampton, right at the entrance. I think there was a car accident there potentially, and it's been down for maybe about a week and a half now. And I was just wondering if that. It looked like there was some type of tape on it, but I didn't know if it was addressed yet. It's just right at the entrance.
Yeah, it's Toledo Edison, they gotta come out
Gotcha.
and fix it,
Okay.
so, I'll make sure it's on their schedule.
Perfect.
I have a couple of things. As I mentioned, John Gordenauer and I met with the administrator from county, Matt Hireman, on 911. I was able to attend Coffee with Cops on Saturday at 3rd Street Cigar, well attended by the police in the area, State Highway Patrol, White House, Waterville Township, and a few citizens, including Councilman Todd, was there. I also attended the TARTA program on Friday, February the 14th. That was a bus run from Franklin Park Mall to downtown to the new office meeting downtown. And then I was asked the same thing about the police, but thanks, Barb, for that question. That is all I have. Okay, moving along. We also have in your packet two other proposed appointments for the Public Works Committee and the Public Safety Committee. Public Works Committee being Tom Shoemaker for a 2-year term, expires 12/31/21, and a Public Safety Committee position for Irma Shoemaker for a 2-year term expiring 12/31/21. So I'll make a motion that we appoint Tom Shoemaker to the Public Works Committee and to Irma Shoemaker, the Public Safety Committee. I need a second.
Second?
Second. Any more discussion?
Good appointments,
Yeah, that's
Very good.
stellar citizens,
The pillars of the community.
pillars
They
of
are.
the community.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, we have a referral to the Planning Commission, condition of special use permit application for the property located at 345 Anthony Wayne Trail, and I'll ask John to further explain that.
Well, this is the
the project that the gentlemen that were here earlier were talking about, since the area is zone C1, it's not permitted without a conditional / special use. So the sale of alcohol or operating a bar type facility isn't permitted without a conditional use. So now is the time that it has to be referred to the planning commission from council.
Okay.
Any questions before it's, okay, and this is going to be a motion that we refer this to the planning commission. I'll move that we refer it to the planning commission. Need a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Why again is it going as a special use permit?
In C1, neighborhood commercial, alcohol sales aren't permitted without a special use or conditional use, yes.
That gives the ability to put more conditions on hours of operation and other things you may be concerned about with the end product, given there is going to be alcohol sales.
Okay, good, all right.
Do we do, or is it required to do traffic counts for that type of a establishment on that busy highway, or?
No, I don't think you're gonna get a lot of traffic in and out of there.
No.
I believe it has about 29 or 28 parking spaces, so you're not gonna get too much traffic. And the big thing is, it's the peak hour traffic. It's the 6 to 9 a.m. and the 3 to 6 p.m. traffic, which is you gotta watch out for things like that. But yeah, this'll be, I think, a modest traffic generator there, so.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have an ordinance accepting the annexation of the territory proposed for annexation by petition filed by Philip L. Dombey, agent for Andrew and Jennifer Wren on October 16, 2019, with Lucas County Board of Commissioners, and declaring an emergency. So I believe we need to move to suspend the rules. Is that right, John?
Correct.
I move that we suspend the rules be suspended to allow for the passage of ordinance number 0120 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Thanks, John. Second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, that's a roll call. Yeah. All right, I had it written down too, right there. Roll call.
Mayor Pedro?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Borowski?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Roser?
Yes.
Okay. Now we need a motion to pass ordinance 0120. This is a roll call.
I'll move.
John?
Yes.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
That's right. Any more discussion?
The only reason this was between October and now, Phil, is just we have to wait for all the
Statutory
time.
Yeah, you have to have time if there's a referendum or anything going on, and it's a 60-day wait by statute.
I thought we had done this before, actually, that's why I asked, but that was, okay.
Roll call.
Mr. Roser?
Yes?
Mrs. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Borowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mayor Pedro?
Yes. Next, we have ordinance 0220, an ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator and finance director to enter into a customer supply agreement for the provision of electricity within the city of Waterville and declaring an emergency. I move that we suspend the rules, be suspended to allow for the passage of ordinance number 0220 as an emergency measure.
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Roser?
Yes.
Mayor Pedro?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Borowski?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Bruno?
Yes.
Now I move that I move for the final passage of ordinance number 0220 first and final reading as an emergency measure.
Second.
Second by Barbara's moved. Okay, John, second.
I'll defer to Barbara if she wants to have a second.
All right.
I just was gonna ask Mr. Dombey, because it looked like he made a lot of notations on the Palmer Energy, if you had any comments about.
Well, they've done an excellent job, as usual, and they figured out that we better have 3 people in this mess. AEP, Dynergy, and First Energy Solutions. They were all very close. We have an existing contract with First Energy, which would make matters easier, but we've had them do some tap dancing at the last moment. So we want to have all the municipalities ready to sign, and then we'll award, and they'll all sign on the same day, and we'll pin down the one of the 3. First Energy would be our best on this aggregation. $53 savings for residential customers, $152 for commercial, and this goes ahead and awards it. The fixed cost of generation are the big things. Locking it in 2 years avoids an increase there, and that's about as far as they want to go out. So we're doing our best.
So we're not gonna have 3 providers?
No, you'll have one provider out of this, yeah. First Energy was the best, but these boys are a little slippery, so.
Any other comments? Okay, there's a roll call.
Mrs. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Browski?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mayor Pedro?
Yes.
Mr. Rozak?
Yes.
Is there any other unfinished or unscheduled business before council? Okay, we're gonna move into an executive session, so I need a motion
So moved?
and a second.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
There will be no further business?
there'll be no further business when we come back to session.